we should probably have a quick chat about the OnePlus 8. Full conclusion for what would have been a separate review, the OnePlus 8 is a baller phone. Sleek design, a good balance of specs at a price just a bit more than 2/3 the cost of a premium iPhone or a Galaxy. We have high expectations for longer term software support, and we still enjoy the top tier of performance today. And in the USA, this is still one of the more effective ways to jump on the 5G bandwagon. The OnePlus 8 represents between a 10 to 15% jump in performance over the 7T it replaces. Many of the individual features are lateral moves, like the main camera sensor. Macro shots might actually be a bit of a downgrade from the 7T, but the battery gets a bit of a boost. So that's good. I think we all get this. So I want to spend a couple minutes breaking down one specific bullet point on this phone. IMO, this is the critical feature which will make or break a purchasing recommendation. What I'm a little concerned about in tech discussions, the casual way that tech reviewers are recommending the 7T over the 8 after that recent price cut. Now, there's a $200 price difference between the two phones, and I don't mean to minimize the impact of that pricing, but just because some things are similar, I don't think we should be so quick to pan the OnePlus 8 for the price premium it commands. We can chat about the more powerful chip and being at the beginning of the support lifecycle, but y'all know I'm gonna be talking about 5G. We need to talk about how to value the 5G. It's my assertion that some of the criticisms of the OnePlus 8 are lazily short-sighted. What do we know about OnePlus? They tend to support their phones for a longer window than most of the rest of the Android ecosystem. What do we know about consumers? People are trying to hold on to their phones longer, and the average length of smartphone ownership is somewhere between 26 to 30 months, depending on the analyst you follow. And that's the average. So for all the tech fans flipping their phones yearly, there are just as many people holding on to their phones longer than 3 years. And what do we know about carriers? 5G is their big buzzword push, and future network improvements are going to be built on that technology as 3G and LTE are devalued. When we were getting into our second and third year of LTE, the 3G, GSM, and CDMA experience for a lot of consumers was already being devalued by carriers. This goes hand in hand. Keep people upgrading new phones, signing new contracts or new agreements makes carriers more money. From my own personal experiences, it seems we're in for a similar network shift, devaluing LTE. When my family recently moved farther out into the suburbs, it was pretty sad when we checked for cell coverage on T-Mobile. Right now, sitting here in the Gadget Lab, LTE reception is terrible, and my OnePlus 7T struggles to get a 5 megabit per second download indoors. When I'm outside pointing the phone towards a tower, I can almost but not quite get to 10 megabit downloads, and the uploads are always terrible. But we recently saw a 5G tower fire up in our neighborhood. So right now, in the Gadget Lab, my OnePlus 8 is easily able to land between a 25 and 35 megabit download, depending on how the wind blows. For those of you keeping score at home, that's roughly 8 to 10 times faster download speeds. The upload's still terrible. I went from barely able to keep phone calls working on the 7T to having a normal data experience again on the OnePlus 8. Saving $200 doesn't really help if I just can't use a phone the way I need to. I'm not really saving money if I can't use the phone. Now, I'm not trying to overly simplify this. It's not as cut and dry as 5G good or 5G bad. Worth it, not worth it. We gotta get you geeks out of binary thinking like that. It's kind of me slapping you through my camera like this. If we're not factoring this kind of use into a smartphone recommendation, then we're painting an incomplete picture of that product. It's my belief this divide will grow over the next 3 years. Someone buying an LTE only phone today will find less network improvement and evolution benefiting their phone. If they're looking to hold on to a phone longer term, they'll certainly find less interest in selling a used LTE device in many markets. 2 years after jumping on the LTE bandwagon, I certainly had less patience for 3G only devices. I mean, I was that nerd all in on WiMAX back in the day, but that's a whole other story I will have to get into in another video. The OnePlus 7T is still a baller phone today. And like I said, that $200 price difference is no small chunk of change to shrug at. It complicates the conversation for the OnePlus 8, but that doesn't mean the OnePlus 8 is without a recommendation. A consumer is gonna need to tackle this with a bit more comparison. It's frustrating a lot of folks never got the LTE improvements they needed, and it's infuriating trying to predict what carriers might do with network rollouts. But that's the reality of our industry today. That's where most decently populated markets are going. And this one hit my family directly, right in our home with our home coverage. Someone likely to benefit from 5G over the next couple years who doesn't want to be flipping phones more frequently will probably prefer picking up the OnePlus 8 and running this phone for as long as they can. Someone more inclined to be trading out phones will get more value out of a reduced price 7T today and might not be as bothered by resale values in a year. These conversations are never as simple as winner or loser. And right now, 5G is making a mess out of what should be an easier upgrade recommendation. It's like, I don't know how to recommend a phone for you unless I also know your carrier and zip code these days. So I'm gonna be wrapping up a deeper review on the OnePlus 8 Pro and some technical comparisons for things like camera performance. But I didn't want the baby brother OnePlus 8 to get lost in the shuffle. So I'm sure you have some thoughts out there. Some of you who are using the newer OnePluses, what have your experiences been? How do you rate the value of a modern day premium phone? And more broadly, has 5G impacted your phone purchasing? And who here is starting to benefit from network improvements? Quite a few conversations we could be having on this topic. And I think the most frustrating thing about this transition, there's no way I would have been able to know how much better the improvements would be if I weren't a gadget reviewer. If I had just been plugging along on my LTE phones from 2019, I totally would have been left in the dark. And I think that's gonna be a worrying reality for a lot of consumers out there. As always, thanks so much for watching, for sharing these videos. The sharing is super important these days, and subscribing to the channel. 2020 is gonna be a really funky year for phones and reviews, and we're only halfway through. So it's even more important that we take the time to critically compare these offerings from different manufacturers against older products. We have to stop acting like one spec defines a phone and that price from year to year is a straight up oranges to oranges comparison. So if you'd like to help support the production of these kinds of conversations, there are those links down below. You could head over to the support page on SomeGadgetGuy.com, or you might consider joining the list of names scrolling by on your screen. That's a growing community of fun, like-minded tech pals, a huge resource for me as I'm planning future videos and reviews. They're just super cool people, so you should check them out. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy on the Twitters and the Twitch, and the Facebooks and the Instagrams. And I will catch you all on the next video.